Yes, guys, I'm Si. Welcome to Cardiff City World. Welcome to the Breakdown Extra. Welcome to Late Night Live. It is a late one. I've just walked in the door, and relaxing, chilling is not to be done. It appears, but there we go. Now, look, it's all good. I'm just glad club football's back. Right? We can finally get back on the Cardiff City train. So welcome if you're still up. Welcome if you're in another country. Welcome, welcome, welcome is all I've got to say. So get involved in a chat. We'll talk about Cardiff City for a bit, and then we'll see where we go. Basically, we'll see what happens. As is tradition with the old, for those of you who go back far enough, the old Ace Podcast Nation late night lives used to delve into all sorts of weird subjects. But look, international break's over. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't glad of it. And I really am really, really glad it's over. But I wanted to have a little talk about what's next for BBM. What can he look at? What do I think he needs to do coming out of this break? I also wanted to talk a little bit about, I really think that the international break, the first one, really hurt us. The second one, this most recent one, I think came at a decent time. So, Jonathan, I'll get to that in a minute because I've got a bit of insight into that because I spoke to someone close to Alex Robertson literally last night because I wanted to check something which had been posted on a Facebook and some other things. And obviously can give a bit of insight into the 21 side of it as well. But we'll get to that. I thought the international breaks came at a good time. And I think it's really interesting because I believe that in some respects, maybe even many respects, the kind of sticky spell that we've had, if you like, or the rough spell, I guess, that we've had, is Cardiff have created their own problems. I believe that the centre-backs, we really should have stuck with Fish and Lawler for the league games. We didn't need to change it. I think that was a problem that we really slipped into last year, chopping and changing the centre-backs. I understand that with Osho coming in, it's your big money signing, you're going to want to play him. But when we stuck with the same sort of back four, game in, game out, we hadn't conceded a goal from open play with a 100% home record. And now I'm not blaming that on any individuals, but I'm saying that the chopping and changing, I don't think helped. So I'd almost like to see BBM go back to basics in that regard. Not necessarily those same two players, but whoever his first choice centre-back pairing is, whether there's Fish and Lawler or there's Osho and Lawler, whoever, play them in the league week in, week out. Play the back four week in, week out, because that momentum, togetherness, the all of it comes together really, really, and it's important. And I think that was a bit of an issue. I think the refusal to play Alex Robertson is puzzling. So a few people are asking about Alex Robertson, so I will get to it now. So there was a thing yesterday, people saying about he's never going to play for the club again because he wants to move in January, and he was supposed to go to Portsmouth, then he got injured, then he was resurrected on deadline day. So I checked that yesterday. And in the same post, they said his dad was his agent, and that's why there's been an influx of Australian players into Portsmouth. His dad's not his agent. So that's the first thing, which is factually incorrect. Number two, before he got injured, at no point was there a move agreed or in process or anything like that. He, as well as others, had indicated at the end of last season that he'd like bids to be considered for him from teams above League One. He's not the only one, by the way. And as for the deadline day thing, obviously, whilst the window is still open, teams can come in. No team, including Portsmouth, ever met Cardiff's valuation anyway. But from around the time Barry Murphy came in, maybe a little bit after that, the message from the board was very clear to the media, to me, to whoever. And that was that Salic, Robertson, etc., none of them were for sale. And they stuck to that. And I would reiterate again, Alex Robertson is not a sort of person to cause an issue in terms of disrupt the dressing room and all that sort of stuff. He's working hard each day away from work, like away from the training and the rest of it. But like Reese has just said there, the Australia manager indicated that there was an issue with Robertson at Cardiff. Well, the issue is he wants to play and Cardiff aren't picking him. So there is an issue. However, nothing's changed in that. I know some people feel that he should have stayed and played in the Newport game, but I wouldn't begrudge anyone going to play for the country. And I know he didn't play, but he wouldn't have known that at the time. And I think he thought he would get some minutes, is my understanding of it. But apparently it's quite common for this Australian manager to bring players in for the first time he selects them and not play them. And then the second time they come in, they tend to play. Apparently he did it to a striker as well, who had a very good goal scoring record. So, yeah, it is what it is. In regards to the 21s, I know that the 21s have requested him, along with others, to ask if, to get him minutes and get him playing. He's not, not the only one. I think they asked for Mafiko and some others, but they were told no. So it is what it is. That is all I've got on it. But the stuff about the Portsmouth thing, and if he doesn't play for Cardiff City again between now and January, it won't be through his choice. That's all I could say. He's available to play. He wants to play. The manager's not picking him, which is his prerogative. Me personally, I think I'd rather see him in there than David Turnbull at the moment. But that's just my opinion. I think he's got more legs. He's technically better. He's got a bit more aggression. And he's got that little bit of an X factor. And I think, I personally think like a midfield three of Joel, Alex Robertson and Rubens, a very, very good midfield. But on the midfield, I think Ryan Wintle's been excellent this year. But I would like to see us vary up the sixth position for certain games, certain opposition. I'd like to see us sometimes have a bit more of a physical presence in there. And I get that people disagree, but like for me, Osho is the one who I would use in there because he's done it before, and he's done it before well. His pace and his athleticism, his ball playing ability is all things that would tick a lot of boxes. But that's to say, like Ryan Windle's done fine. Just sometimes I think we could do with a bit more athleticism in there and stuff, But yeah, it is what it is, isn't it? I think it's weird if you're not selecting people to allow them to, not allow them to play for the 21s. It's just, if you're not going to use them, why not? But then, mate, if BBM wasn't going to pick him, like it doesn't make a difference. Just re-saying about you should have played in the Newport game. It's a strange one. Excuse me, sorry. Like, to me, I just think we're like cutting our nose off to spite our face. If we don't want him, which doesn't seem to be the message from anybody, put him in a shop window and get a price for him. Because I'll tell you something, at the moment, his price is probably halved from the summer at the moment because we're refusing to play him. It's a very strange one. Very strange one. But I think he's a better option than some of the others. But the manager is much like Craig Bellamy. Managers will live and die by their team selections, and managers like what they like. Hopefully, I would love it if he's in the squad on Saturday. I really would. I think that gives everyone a lift as well, because I think everyone knows that he's got talent. So for me, I think him being on the bench or even in the team on Saturday gives everybody a lift. But I guess until it happens, we won't see. And we need different options in midfield. Joel Colwell's young, so he's going to be up and down. Ruben's the kind of linchpin, fine. Wintle has been very good at what he does, but I think there's other aspects of that position where he does lack. Now, that's not his fault. It's just the way he's built. He hasn't got that pace or the physicality, but he does a lot of things very well, and there's been not a real issue with him, other than, much like Joel Bagan, we expected him to play every minute of every game for 60-odd games this season. And if the manager doesn't fancy Robertson, and when are we going to see Mafiko get some minutes? I understand you've got to find the right moments and stuff like that. But I'm interested in how the whole Robertson thing kind of plays out, because, as I said before, could be a masterstroke. Because I think, if he comes in and he's absolutely electric because he's angry and he's got a point to prove, then it maybe it's good man management. If he just kind of fizzles out and plays nothing or minutes here and there in cups, and then goes on loan in January and then goes for barely anything in the summer, I think you've wasted an asset, first and foremost. You've harmed the team in another way by not having an option. So it's a weird one. It is a weird one. I can't deny it, but I did check when I saw someone sent me some stuff that had been posted. So I checked with a couple of places, and that was the message that come back, unequivocally as well. Is what it is. But going back to the start now of going into after post-international break, I would really, really like to see us starting against Reading, play like the season started again, like we did in that Peterborough game, and just start quick and aggressive and fresh and all those things, just moving the ball quick, putting teams to the sword, defensively solid, and just get a run of games where we're playing our stuff. Because I felt like going into I don't really include the Newport game because it was such a disjointed team of kids and senior players. But the Leyton Orient game defensively was shambolic. The Bradford game, I stand by. If we played them 10 times, we probably win more than we lose, but they were better on the day and we were poor. They beat us at our own game. The Wigan game in between was very, very good, but we should have been out of sight by halftime. So defensively, we need to be better. We're very reliant on Trott at times. which is his job, as Roy Keane would say. And we need to be clinical. I think you've got to, and we also, I would like to see us adjust, right? So if Salic starts, then you've got to tell your wingers, get the ball in the box early. If Robinson's starting, then you're looking to build and get it wide and more kind of get in behind and passes rather than just putting it into the box. But you got to play to the strengths. Play to the strengths of them and hide the weaknesses. That's what I would do. And I believe that's what we should do. And I think if we do that, both of them are very, very capable of getting into double figures. Matthew says, defensively, we were solid until Fish and Lawler were split up. They were building a solid partnership. We need to go back to Fish and Lawler. I tend to agree, mate, particularly because whenever Fish plays with Chambers, he looks like a different player. He looks so much more nervous, not as secure on the ball, just generally doesn't look like himself. Whenever he plays with Lawler, he just looks almost as good in many ways. Maybe not on the ball as good, but defensively, they just both look very secure. And I think that's important, so important when you're building a team, a young team as well. You want that solid base. The foundations have got to be excellent. And I think the back four and Trot that started the season, there was nothing wrong with it. Now, if you want to get Osho in, can he go in the sixth to give those two young centre-backs a bit of protection? I don't think that's the worst thing, you know. It's fascinating because, you know, after this international break, I think we needed a bit of a break. But saying that, before, you know, that other international break, we just absolutely killed our momentum, and we never really kind of got it back, bits and pieces. And for me as well, Lawler and Fish, it's their ball playing abilities that they complement each other. Like Lawler is excellent on the ball. Bob Bank 27 says the board wanted Robertson gone. He turned down a move, and Cho has told BBM not to play him. It's just not true, mate. And the only reason I know it's not true is because I checked yesterday, and let's just assume that what was said to me is incorrect. He had asked to move, so he wouldn't have turned down a move. If they'd matched the price, it would have happened. But I accept it. It's still weird, though, isn't it? Like why he hasn't, why he's not selected and not playing. Like it's stupid all round. Like if you don't want him, then you should have sold him in the summer. And if you didn't want to sell him, which was the message that was given, then play him when he's fit, or at least don't ice him out with it, I suppose, is the thing, isn't it? But there we go. It is what it is. Going back to the ball playing. So Lawler's line breaking passes and Fish's diagonals, it kind of complements each other very well. And they get the tempo of how we want to play. Both of them get it. I always feel like with Chambers, he slows it down and everything becomes, the opposition become very solid because they're able to get everyone behind the ball, and we never get players out of position. And then I think Osho, I do think I've seen enough of Osho that I think he'll be fine. But he's obviously coming off the back of an absolutely horrific performance. So that is a big issue. I thought he should have played against Newport, Osho, to let him get it out of his system. You know, he might be a sort of guy who's already forgotten about it, but it was that bad that I wonder if maybe that's going to be hanging around in his psyche for a bit. Yes, it's a weird one because I'll just go back to Robertson. It's a weird one why that he's not playing or he's not being considered, because there's other players who asked to leave and they haven't been given the same treatment. So I think that's poor in itself. In terms of the attacking side of things, I do think the most balanced we've looked is when we played with Isaac on one side and Ashford on the other side. However, when Isaac started against in the league, I think it was the Leyton Orient game, he looked a bit nervous and his passing was a bit stiff and he ended up, I think, getting hooked. But I like the balance that him and Kean Ashford give us. But I don't deny that Willock has been vastly improved this year. I don't think he's quite been as good as some would have you believe, but I think he's been very good. And I think he's productive as well. He does create chances. And it's interesting because where he likes to cut in, I think that's forced Bagan to be a bit more ambitious with his overlaps. Whereas earlier in the season, Bagan was kind of tucking in a little bit more or inverting into the midfield, which works as well. But where Willock has been out on the left, he's kind of, Bagan's got a bit more adventurous and you're seeing him more and more being the one to do the crossing. I just would like to see us alter our plan for creating chances depending on who's up front or who starts the game. So, like I said, if Salic starts, let's get the ball out wide and get the crosses in early and tell Ruben to get in the box as well for those crosses. So you've got two big boys in the cross arriving for the crosses. And then if it's Robinson, then you change the build up accordingly. But a few times just before the international break, it got a bit frustrating because it felt like sometimes when Salic was on, we were trying to build up. And then when Robinson was on, we'd be lumping balls up to him. And it was like, what are we doing here? Like, come on, think about who's up front and who's there. I would love to see Isaac play through the middle, Paul. I massively disagree with people, not that you're saying he's been poor, but like people saying Salic has been poor. He's missed a couple of chances, scored a couple of chances as well. I think his link-up play has been fine. His physical, he occupies defenders, he occupies two centre-backs, and he's difficult to occupy. I think there was a bit of frustration there from him, but I think the work rate has been pretty good from him, and I'm relatively happy with him. But I really hope, Saturday, when we see that team, I'm hoping for similar, that feeling we had on the opening day of the season where it was like, oh, wow, come on. Matthew Turner in goal and Joel Colwell was starting and Ruben was starting and Kapakia was starting. It was like, this is new. I'd like to see him. Not saying he needs to change, the keeper or anything like that by any means. Trott is the guy. What I'm saying is I would just love to see that back four. I would love to see just an aggressive team. I'm hoping it'll be probably Wintle, Joel, Ruben. Robinson for me has to start. Like I said, I think I've said this a few times, but for the sake of repeating myself, Callum Robinson, when he's in a goal scoring streak, you got to play him because that streak will end eventually and then he'll go a bit quiet for a bit. So whilst he's scoring, keep playing him until he stops. And ultimately, that's it. Yeah, I agree with that, actually. Matthew says a lot of people just expected Salah to batter the league, hence why people have been complaining about his performances. But he's not had the rub of the green with officials. He's had a lot of bad luck. He's got the absolute shit kicked out of him all over the shop, mate. And I feel for him because he gets no protection. He has goals disallowed. You know, that one against, who was it? I forget. But it was like, I think it was Burton, wasn't it? It was just outrageous. Absolutely outrageous. McAnish says we need a Conway or a Cowie or even a Ray in central midfield. Joel is the nearest one to those legends. Wouldn't mind any of them, mate. But I would say Joel's going to be up and down because he's young. Same as Capaccio. They're going to be a bit up and down. I have no idea what that's referring to, mate. So, no, I haven't seen the Die Hunt episode. Sorry, mate. Yeah. So I apologize if I'm a bit quiet. I'm sort of losing my voice and that. I found out this morning that a friend of mine who I've done a bit of work and stuff with, his brother had killed himself. So that was like just knocked the wind out of me. I got to be honest, because it just feels like something which just happens far too often, and I'm fucking sick of it. I got to be honest. It's just, yeah, I don't know, just one of them, and it's like we all say, I was good to. It's good to talk, and we encourage people to talk and that, but people still feel like they got nowhere to go. Like I always say, no matter what the problem is, it can always be sorted, and quite often it can be sorted a lot easier than you think. But you know, I've been there. It's like when you're in it, and you feel like there's no way out. There's no way out, and I think just. Yeah, like I was thinking about it earlier, like how many people since I left school, so like 30 years, and how many boys or blokes that I knew in some fashion, some closer than others, and that have are no longer with us because of that. And it's frightening. And like, what can you do? And so I know so many who, like, from the outside, like you'd think, wow, they've got like some of the best families or support systems. And it's, yeah, just don't know what to do with it. But it's something which it frightens me because I got, I got 3 boys who were, grown up, and it's hard being young sometimes. It's easy in some ways, don't get me wrong, but it's hard in other ways. And I think growing up in the social media age is even harder, and it puts pressure on you. And it's like, what can you do? Can you try and prepare them as best you can, and you try to equip them the best you can to deal with things, but also try and make clear to them that no matter what happens, they can always come back, or they can always come to you. And I always say, like, to all of my boys, I've always said since they were young, like, if they're in a situation where they're not comfortable or whatever, they can phone me and I'll go get them immediately or whatever. But luckily, touch wood, hasn't been used yet. Yeah, but we'll see. But yeah, I don't know. I don't even know why I started thinking about it, but it's just one of them things where it just pops in your head. It's been on my mind all day, and it's difficult. Actually, I know why it popped in my head. I'm in the middle of making a video about the FA Cup run to the FA Cup final, and getting some of the players to contribute in different ways. And obviously, you know, there's names in there which are, or names around that time which are no longer with us, and it just breaks you, like, because what can you do? But anyway, I digress. As I say, you'd like to think that there'll be more support for people, but the other side of that is, I think there's more support than ever. Like when I was like my youngest boy's age, so 16, I was a nightmare, like, and I was doing all sorts of things which I shouldn't have been doing anyway before that. But then my dad passed away when I was sort of just before I was 16. And, you know, I had been to like counselors and all this sort of shit. But it wasn't a lot of it, you know? And literally at my father's funeral, someone told me, and this is ironic. So this guy, he was my uncle, at my dad's funeral, I was 16, told me, like, you know, I've got to be strong now for my mum and my brother and blah, blah, blah. I'm the man of the house. And I know he was trying to be nice. But what he did, with hindsight, I'm able to see that what he did is he just put a fuckload of pressure on a 16-year-old who was preparing to do his GCSEs, and, you know, didn't in the end. But either way, ironically, no longer with us. But it was like a generational thing, like, where you just didn't do it. Didn't talk. Or they didn't talk. And obviously the generations before that, men just didn't talk at all. And then my sort of generation, then it was better. And like my mum was always really good at trying to get me to talk about stuff from a young age, but it wasn't exactly prevalent. Like, there was no sort of mental health, this and that, like, that you get these days. So I do often think, like, with all the support, you know, or how it's changed over the last 15, 20 years, the internet, phone lines, all of that stuff, there's more support than ever. But we still lose a frightening number of men every single year. Why is that? Why is that? But anyway, right. I've fried my brain now completely. Someone asked me a question, which is football related. I can't wait for the football. I can't wait. I had a great time at Reading's training ground on Tuesday. What a training ground that is, by the way. Multi-million-pound training complex. Absolutely unreal. Absolutely unreal. And they got everything's based in that training complex. The only thing that's at the ground is obviously the games, the ticket office, they do like events there, and and the club shop. That's all that's there now. Everything is based at all the offices. Everything's based at the training complex. They've obviously got like 12 pitches or whatever. They've got the academy is based on the back of it. So everything is based in the same thing, same place. Like, I didn't get to meet any players, unfortunately, just because of the international break and the time of day I went there. They were kind of busy, but I might have sorted out an interesting interview off the back of it, but I can't tell you who yet. But he did used to play for Cardiff. Yeah, so no, but Joe was great, and I'm just trying to work out that interview. I really wanted to put that interview out tonight. One of the reasons why I'm doing the late night live is because I just couldn't get it edited in time, which is a bit of a bugger because it's obviously a Reading thing. But that series is going to be called Inside the EFL, and I've already set up a couple of others, different clubs within the EFL. So it might not always be like the CEO. It might be just a recruitment team. It might be a player. It might be a manager. It might be whoever. But I've already set up a couple, and I've got a couple of others that are hopeful. You'd be very surprised to know that Cardiff's not one of them, but hopefully they'll get involved. I am hopeful that, maybe they will allow it. I was just trying to see if Alex had put in the thing about Die Hunt. No, and see, you can't see it. It's a difficult one. And I think, I've got to say, like, the Reading ground was amazing. Joe Jacobson was amazing. And we had a real good chat. We talked a little bit about his career, his time at Cardiff, his obviously for him coming through the academy, and then the first time he got asked to do the Ayatollah and things like that at Ninian Park, and then making the decision to leave the club, and his time at Wickham, and then how he ended up in this CEO role at Reading. And then we talked about owners. We talked about what his job entails and stuff like that. So yeah, there's a bit of everything in there. It's interesting. I will try and get it out as quick as possible, but editing is the bane of my life. It really, really is. But it was a great day, a great time. Spent a day with the missus as well, which is always a good time. No, Mark's not at Reading anymore, mate. But I will do something with him, actually. I might send him a message about doing something with him. Yeah, so I am hoping that we can perhaps sort out something with Cardiff, something similar. And just kind of go with that side of things, because it'd be a shame if, like, do this series and go to a range of different clubs, whatever, League 2, League 1, maybe Championship, and then can't go to the one literally down the road. So yeah, hopefully. I will find out about Dylan. I'm under the impression, or I was under the impression, he only had a knock. I was also under the impression that if push come to shove, he could have played for Wales, but obviously they would look to protect him. They're not going to, try and like force it. So I'm glad in a way they didn't, even though it was an important game, and I think they'd have been better for having him. And I think he would have done a better job than everyone bar Joe Roden defensively. I'm glad he didn't play. Like him, Ruben, Capacchio, they're all fresh. All fresh. Joel Caldwell as well. They're all fresh, and they so that's definitely a good thing for me, at least. Even though I'm frustrated by it. But yeah, so if anyone who's got any contacts at any EFL clubs, definitely hit me up, because I want this series to be an ongoing thing where we go and take a trip in our favorite rocket ship, and we go and just speak to different people, different clubs, and you know, obviously I spoke to the CEO of Reading because I knew him, but it might be that I speak to someone from the recruitment team, or it might be that I speak to someone from, you know, whatever, the academy or the reserve team or whatever. And I think that'll be good. I think it could be quite an interesting season, a series, like, you know. But we shall see. But I'll definitely find out about Dylan. Hopefully he's fit, because it'd be massive for him to play on Saturday. Like I said, I would love to see us go back to basics a little bit. But if they're not fit, they're not fit to play. What can you do? Ultimately, there's not much you can do, is there? So it is what it is. I gotta say this, right? This might be the worst podcast I've ever done, worst live show I've ever done. My head's all over the shop, but I wanted to do something. I'm very open about how I feel and how I am and stuff like that anyway. But I'm also very adamant that Cardiff City World is 7 days a week, 6 days a week, 7 days a week. And we're back at it now. Like, we're gonna have a preview out tomorrow, live show with Evan and Aaron tomorrow night. Match day madness, lunchtime Saturday. The boys will be back with the 1927 Club Saturday night. Like, it's all full steam ahead again now. International breaks done. I appreciate that, Reese. Thank you, mate. It's yeah, and it don't help. I'm losing my voice, and I just feel a bit dishevelled myself. But it is what it is. Cardiff City going to win 3-0 on Saturday. That's what I think. Alex Robertson on the bench scored a winner off the bench. I always, you know what, right? I almost hope they just put him in the squad just to stop people asking about it. How about that? How about that? And don't forget, on Tuesday, Reese will have an all-new guest on Tuesday from Nebraska University. Interesting. Look forward to that, mate. Yeah, you got to pair with Lawler on you, and you got to like look after him a bit physically. Not just him, Capacchio and Joel Caldwell and the rest of them. Got to look after them and make sure they're all right. But yeah, I think we're going to win on Saturday. I'm fairly confident. I know BBM did a live question answer thing tonight, didn't he? So it'll be interesting to see like what comes out from that, if anything interesting. Just seeing just having a look at some comments. I'm really struggling to speak, guys. So I'm probably gonna knock it on the head now. But yeah, they got guests on the Tuesday night all the way through. November and looking to get the December ones booked in. So it's a great point, Paul. Ruben had problems with growing pains. This is why you've got to look after. Yeah, get your tickets for the Mars event. There's a few left, yeah. Not a lot, but there is a few left. We would like to get them sold up. So Sean has a completely full house. And incidentally, we very well could have a very special announcement on that night that people might be surprised by. Turns out Sean Morrison might not be the last event of the year. He'll just be the last solo event. Anyway, make sure you like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. I'll be back in the morning with the previews and all that stuff and be much more vocal. I appreciate the patience. Appreciate the kind comments. Look after yourself and look after each other. And like I said, it's never too late. In a bit.
This channel is powered by an incredible membership community on Cardiff City World and patreon.com/AcePodcastNation. Becoming a member unlocks exclusive rewards from early access to live event tickets, bonus content, and even the occasional inside transfer scoop when we get it. But more importantly, it allows us to bring you top quality Cardiff City content 7 days a week. Across those 7 days, we're talking match previews, exclusive interviews, instant match reactions, the breakdown podcast, tactical deep dives, the Spotlight series, Bluebirds Rewind, Academy Focus, and just so much more. Led by myself, backed by an army of passionate Cardiff City fans, this is content created by fans, for fans, balanced, professional, and 100% all about the club we all love. If you enjoy what we do, then join the community today and support what we are doing as we help to keep Cardiff City World flying high.